So recently I've discovered what my new favorite dish is, and that's mole. Mole deriving from the Nahuatl word muli, meaning sauce, which is comprised of chilies, herbs, and seeds, and served with chicken. I cannot explain how magical this stuff is. Granted, I do not like spicy food. I know, I'm a bad Mexican. But when it comes to mole, I will suffer through the heat of the fires of the underworld for a taste of that sweet, sweet liquid gold. It's like food for the gods. Which, after researching it, it kind of is. It's said that when the indigenous merchants of Mexico would return home after long travels, they would perform ceremonies and offer the dish to the Lord of Fire, Xiuhtecutli. Which makes sense since the stuff tastes like literal liquid fire. Still worth it though. Mole or muli is a very flexible dish with lots of variations, even back in the pre-Hispanic times. Usually these mulis were made with yellow chili, tomatoes, herbs like amaranth, and pipián, or grounded pumpkin seeds as a thickener, and served with turkey. A lot of these mulis having different names that describe what kind of ingredients it has, like Chotepecpin molo, having maguey worms, and Chotepecpin salsa, which is just chili and tomatoes, and Mazasoco muli, which has unripened herbs and whitish minnows. A lot of these recipes were passed down orally from generation to generation, so it would make sense that a lot of family recipes were lost due to the Spanish conquest in the 1520s. Although the mole that we have today is still very similar and in some cases basically the same as what they were back then, we also get what is likely our first written account of mole in the Florentine Codex by Bernardo Sahagún. By this time, a whole lot of ingredients were traded between the Old and New World, introducing Mexico to chicken, which is now the most common protein to serve with mole. Although the turkey version sounds pretty good. Over the centuries, mole continued to evolve, not just because of chicken, but also all sorts of cultural influences, including Afro-Latinos adding ingredients of their own. Also now, there's a lot more writing down of recipes, showing how different families have their own take on a traditional dish. There are tons of other stories that tell us about how mole was invented, one of them being told from the 1600s, where the devil himself wanted to trick the church by dumping a bunch of spices into a dish that the church convents were preparing to impress Bishop Manuel Fernandez de Santa Cruz, but it backfired since the people ended up loving it so much. Although the authenticity of this story is questionable since there are some inconsistencies with the dates. Although new variations were made all the time. Some people add avocado, some use chili ancho, some use corn, and some put roasted sesame seeds on top. We've got mole poblano, mole negro, clay mole. Really, you can put anything in mole and it would still be mole. Heck, it's even common to use chocolate, which was how I was introduced to it. Mole poblano being one of the most well known and my absolute top favorite. While researching, me and my mom discovered that chocolate wasn't actually documented as being used in mole until 1817, which was really weird to me. Cacao has been an established food in Mexico for thousands of years, and you're telling me that not one person decided to put that in the sauce that has everything? Although if they did, it must have not been very popular, or like I said earlier, the documentation must have been lost during the conquest. Either way, our first account of chocolate and mole includes the use of chocolate tablets that aren't all that different from the chocolate tablets that we know today. The 1817 mole that included chocolate as an ingredient is known as mole de monjas, or nun's mole, which coincides with a lot of popular stories about mole, and eventually became known as mole poblano since the nuns were living in Puebla. Puebla represent! I mean, the moment you tell me that there's a dish with chocolate in it, I'm gonna go wild with it. Which is why I begged my family to make some the way that my great grandma did back in Mexico. My grandma recited all the ingredients off the top of her head. Then we went to the local Mexican market. We grabbed one whole chicken, peanuts, chile pasilla, chile chipotle, and chile morita, bananas and plantains, red tomatoes, onions, sesame seeds, cinnamon, raisins, and strangely enough, animal cookies. And of course, we can't forget the amazing chocolate de abuelita. Back home, we started by opening 3/4 of a bag of peanuts and separated the seeds from the chili
Spicy sprinkle. Just cut it in half.
and boiled them in water. Although later we thought that it wasn't really spicy enough, so we later added some more. Meanwhile, we set the chicken to boil with salt and half an onion and toasted the sesame seeds.
Look at this. Okay, and then you agregan los tomates.
As well as adding tomatoes to the chile. Then we fried the animal crackers in oil. My grandma told us that as a kid, she would love to pick them out of the boiling oil and eat them.
She would grab it just like that from the oil.
Right there.
Eat it, and eat it. With oil. I don't know how that would taste. Yo no sé cómo comerlo eso. She's gonna eat it. Aquí tengo ya. Y eso que ya la puse a enfriar ahí, ¿eh? Well, tastes good, actually. They do taste good. Sí, ahí está enfriando, ya se enfriaron. You can add. I guess not. No.
We'll give it a little bit longer.
Let me get it again. What? Too hot?
No, I like it.
Yeah.
And now we see why. It's actually a lot more delicious than I thought it would be. Like, who would have known? I guess everything does taste better fried. Then we fried the peanuts, raisins, and bananas. Ooh, this thing has everything. And added 2 tostadas, because of course.
We're gonna blend it.
We tried blending it all up together, but the peanut became peanut butter and it was way too thick. So we grabbed my grandma's unused food processor for the first time. We've been saved.
Yes, you can say.
Yeah. And with some chicken stock, it actually worked pretty well.
Had a bigger one of this, it will blend, it will go like this, no problem. The machine can't handle it.
No. Finally, we got a tablet of that delicious abuelita chocolate that we may or may not have nibbled on a little bit beforehand.
Perfect.
And we mixed it with the rest of the mole. Ooh. Yeah, back into mole. That's mole, right? But finally, we dressed our chicken, and at last, the mole was ready.
If it needs a little bit more of something.
This is way better than the other mole I tried.
Like it? And it was a success. Surprisingly, for our first time making mole from scratch like this, we actually made it taste like how my great grandma did, which was the goal. Usually we would just get the little glass bottle from the store and that would be it. But this was actually really good. Like I said before, we didn't really find it as spicy as it could be, and so we added some chile morita at the end, which definitely helped out a lot. Again, I can't preface this enough. I hate spicy food, but this is amazing. And like my mom says, it actually tastes a lot better the more times you heat it up. I don't understand why, but it was definitely the case for us. And after the next few days of just having more and more of it, it was the liquid gold I was looking for. Even my friend loved it, who had never actually tried mole before, at least not this kind. Honestly, this part of the research with the chocolates and the condiments and everything really confused the heck out of me. There are contradictions and I'm just like, what is happening here? Researching history is one thing, but researching the history of food is so tricky due to how much can be changed or lost due to time and oral traditions just fading. Mole is truly as diverse as the people of Mexico, which is why it's no wonder it's considered Mexico's national dish. Me and my family had a lot of fun preparing and making mole. And the moral of the story, just have some mole. It's great. If you haven't, what are you doing with your life? Just go eat some mole. Whether you've had it 1,000 times or you never had it before, even if you don't like spicy food, just think about it. Actually, no, don't just think about it. Do it. Like literally, this is the best thing I've ever had in my mouth. What the heck? If I could eat this every day, I would. I literally would.